I'm Stuart.
Stuart, nice to meet you. I'm Gil.
Nice to meet you. I'm the captain, Captain Stuart Bain, Director of Operations for the Island Queen Cruise Company. And I was just kind of wanted to talk to you about, maybe expanding our cruise operations, going to the tropical islands a little bit more. And we were looking and considering your island. So I was kind of wondering, the different makeup of your island and maybe what you had to offer at your island.
Yeah, absolutely. The tropical island, I'm the mayor of the tropical island, and the way our structure works right now, as you probably did your research, is as the mayor, I answer to the council. The council ultimately makes the final decision, and I'm on the last year of my 3-year term, and then plan to run again coming up here. The makeup of the island, pretty small island. It's 10 miles by 38 miles. We have about 7,000 people population. We're looking at expanding our economy, but the biggest thing, answering to not only the people but also the council, answering to them, is that they don't want to get, how they put it, ravaged by commercialism.
So you really want them to leave a good impression for your next term, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I was just looking into things, and my main concern is, finding a different place, different destination for me to go, as well as preserving what you had on your island. Because one of my biggest factors is I want to draw people into somewhere that's pristine, the culture there, there's very ethnical background there, and I want to be able to preserve that, for different customers coming in, so they can, continue to see that over the years. I also heard that you guys were looking to, expand into the tourism sector of things. And I was just kind of wondering what your biggest factor is of why you would want to have a cruise company come in, or what your expectations are of a cruise company.
We're interested in getting a cruise ship like yourself in there. The biggest concern with us is the number of people that get off and ultimately use our island or disembark to go there. We don't have quite as large a capacity to get a ton of people onto the island. Really just looking at really not disturbing the locals' way of life, and not destroying the ecosystem of the ships sitting there out in the port, out on the waters, and so that's really what we're looking at.
So now, as far as capacity-wise, what are the things that you feel as though are limiting capacity on your island?
One thing is public restrooms. We're having, that's always a concern for people coming on. Other than that, really nothing. We have plenty of, it's a small island, but we have enough space and enough things to do on the island that we can accommodate a large number, or a moderate amount of people. I guess just the public restrooms and just the general ecosystem destruction of more and more people coming through and stepping everywhere, and like I said, the boats sitting out out there.
Now, do you feel as though that you and your council would be open to, updating different accommodations on your island, or is that something you guys, want to keep on the minimum, as far as, building, different, restrooms, or maybe like some kind of a visitor place for the different people coming on? Is that something you guys are open to?
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Well, I don't know. I know you said the restrooms are, kind of on the down. You only have one restroom on the whole entire island. I feel as though, to go along with the culture and not make it such a big backup in lines and to accommodate more people, I feel as though we could work together and, update the bathrooms and make things a little bit more safer on your island for everybody around. With that being said, I also, want to keep in mind the cultural ecosystem of your island. I don't want to put any more people on there than you can handle, obviously. So I was kind of thinking, if it's something that, doesn't happen that much, I know we have to take into consideration that, every 2 weeks, we can't have a ship going in or going out, or every day that they were there, we can't, 2 weeks. So I feel as though if we're there, maybe once a month, for 2 days, that'd be a place to start, once a month for 2 days, coming in, coming out.
Okay, how many people are you talking about?
Well, we have, 2,200 people on our ships. And around half the people like to come onto the different islands. So I feel as though, I believe your ferry can hold 1,100 people. So I feel as though if we could maximize the amount of people to go in and go off, that would be the most beneficial as far as financial-wise for both of us.
Okay.
So I'm talking about 1,100 people.
No, we absolutely cannot do 1,100
Okay.
people. The max right now is 500 people per day coming in and out of the island.
Okay.
And right now we have about 200 people
Okay.
coming in and out right now. So from maybe your cruise ship would be 300, but to level with you completely, we're not super happy with those 200 people right now just because they're not being respectful and they're causing a lot of problems on the island when they do come in, especially when there's more than one day involved.
Sure.
So we're having a lot of problems when they come in for 2 days with alcohol abuse and people just getting a little too rowdy for our people to really be okay with.
So are you more interested in and worried about the factors of the capacity amount of people going onto the island, or are you more worried about the ecological impact of the ships coming in and out of port?
I guess first of all would be the people,
Okay.
and then talking about how many times they come in and out. So
Okay. Well, I guess we can go back to the people. I was talking about the 1,100 people to start out. I know, it's a situation where, not everybody, not the whole entire 1,100 people, come on and come off the ship. So, if we did have the 2 days that we were there, it's probably not going to be the fact that 1,100 people actually do come on and come off, your property. But, the fact is going back to, the different, visitor centers and things that I was talking about. If, the bathrooms were updated and, there was some sort of amenity for people, like when they come off, to sit there, some sort of a visitor center, would there be a possibility of adding more capacity to your island?
I don't know that there's a possibility to add more capacity.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like I said, I'm a politician here too.
Right.
Is looking for election, and that's just really how many people that our local populace is willing to handle.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, these tourists are coming in for a day or two
Right.
every once in a while, kind of doing their tourist thing, seeing all the sights and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually they live, and there's 7,000 people that still have to live there.
Right.
So it's really what they're willing to put up with.
Okay. Well, I mean, the fact that you don't. So you're looking at around 300 people that you want me to bring on the island for one day. So that's pretty much the max that you're looking at.
Right now, yeah.
Okay. So with that 300, I mean, how much money are you really looking to gain from this sort of endeavor?
Really not terribly interested in the money. Just we want to expand our economy. Just get more people on the island. Also, another thing we're kind of concerned with is a lot of our young people. There's no college on the island.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our young people are leaving to other places to go to college, and they don't come back.
Sure.
And so I know 3 of the people on our council right now are I kind of think that's what they're upset about is with more people coming on, these young people might be more influenced to leave, and then they don't come back. So.
Well, what if we had a situation where there was an incentive for the younger people to stay on the island? I know that 60% of your 7,000 population is made up of natives, and considering the average, there's always around 10% of those people that are going to be made up of the ages from 18 to 24. So considering that there is the possibility of losing that 10% population every year due to certain, they want to go better their education somewhere, would there be a possibility to add more tourist capacity if there was some sort of fund, maybe a donation, maybe some sort of a facility for them to better their education on the island?
Yeah, that'd be something they're very interested in.
Okay. I mean, considering that sort of fact, would there be a possibility to, let's say, maybe triple that 300?
There could be a possibility of that.
Okay.
I guess I would just kind of be interested in what that would look like.
Okay. I mean, considering like the 10% I said, of 18 to 24, if they leave, that's around roughly 700 people leaving your island. That's always a possibility. So, if there's going to be a possibility of 700 leaving, maybe we could just add that 700 right on the amount of tourism. The younger people would be staying on the island. There'd be more tourism coming in. There'd be more options for jobs on the island as well. Considering, if I have some sort of a tourist center, visitor center, station, there's going to be some, on-site jobs that your people could have.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's something we're very interested in.
Okay. So, considering that, if we updated the facilities, maybe, I'm not saying it's a done deal, we can always talk about it more, some kind of a facilities fund to set up, for your younger people. Maybe we could look at maybe around, 900 people coming onto the island every day.
900 is still a little too steep for the amount of people. I mean, I'm looking more towards 500. Like I said, those 200 that are coming, they're coming every day.
Mm-hmm.
But, they're staying for a little longer, and it's just not something we're terribly interested in.
Right.
With those people, I should say.
Right.
But, so, I mean, we're definitely interested in getting more of your people onto this island, but, I mean, probably closer to 500 of those people coming on. And then another thing to talk about is when they are coming on, how often are they coming on, and how and how long are they staying?
Okay. Well, I mean, the fact is that I was talking about, maybe, once a month for 2 days. I figured the 2-day stint would be a lot more beneficial for your island, considering there wouldn't be, a big rush of people coming right onto the island all at once.
Mm-hmm.
It could be more separated up into the 2 days. I feel as though it'd be a lot better for your island, considering the small nature and the amount of things that are going on.
Right. We're really not interested in anything over a day.
Nothing over a day.
We can have maybe a little more people come on, but it would just be for a day.
Okay.
We're really not interested in the 2-day stints on the island.
For what reasons are you not interested in the 2 days?
Like I said, with the people that come on right now and stay for 2 days, there's just a lot of problems with you mix in with drugs and alcohol, and a lot of problems when alcohol is involved with tourists, because when they are there for the overnights, then they obviously go kind of crazy and destroy a lot more stuff.
We do have a 1-day, kind of policy on our ships to where, if you get dropped off at the island at 8 o'clock a.m., you're expected to be back on the ship by 8 o'clock p.m. So could it be, option maybe, if we did in fact stay for 2 days, that we could maybe say, we're going to be docked here for 2 days. People that get off on the first day, you're going to need to be back by the ship by 8 o'clock p.m. And on the second day, we'll drop you off at 8 a.m., but you need to be back on 8 p.m. That way there would be no tourists on your island, after around 8 o'clock p.m. I feel as though that nighttime hour would be a lot more hectic. That's when a lot more drinking, a lot more, rough activity would happen.
That actually sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
I do like that idea. And then going back to, you said once a month, how many times a year are you talking about that?
That'd be about, let's see, considering it would be about 11, 12 times a year.
Okay.
So we could maybe say 11 times a year, and then that way that would just give it that, that extra month, just, calm everything down on the island.
Okay. Because I'm going significantly over the 300 that I'm supposed to have, so since we are getting more people, I can't do 11 times a month.
Okay.
Unless we brought that number of people down more. I mean, it's really a balancing act here of how many people come on and how often they come.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to balance that number, and we already talked about 500.
Right.
But if 500 people are coming 11 times, it's just not. That's going to be way too much.
I mean, but would you be willing to do the 2-day stint, though? Is that something that we can maybe, set in stone?
Okay. 2 days, and
They have to be back by the ship by 8 o'clock p.m.
Yeah, and so I'll entertain that idea. So 2 days, and how many times at that 2 days would that ship be coming in?
Well, that'd be a thing where the ship would stay in its spot,
right?
And then the ferry.
I mean per year. I mean.
Oh, I'm still around that 11 times a year.
At 2 days.
11 times a year at 2 days, so that'd be 22 days out of the year that we would be, sitting out at some sort of a port or in your harbor.
I'd be more interested if we are talking about that 2 days of it being like 4 or 5.
You're talking about 4 or 5 times a year, okay.
Just because I'm okay with that 500, but just because that's way over the, number of people that we should have on there,
right?
Then I need to bring that amount of times down, and if it's going to be 2 days, then I need to bring that down as well.
So you're still thinking about around 500 people per day coming out.
I'm entertaining that idea as well as the 2, so that's why I'm looking at that 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
Maybe even less than that, 4 or 5 times a year. Is there a prime tourist time that would work best for you?
Well, here's what I'm thinking. I know on Saturdays you guys have a farmers market during the time on the island. Maybe if we could have a little bit more people, maybe come a few more times a year, we could, kind of schedule our schedule around your farmers market so we have more tourists coming onto your island during the times where they could, buy more, produce, vegetables, what have you, and spend more money on the island. So we could, look at a scheduling time where we could,
Okay.
have more people as well as, more times a year, on my end as well as on your end, we'd definitely be spending a lot more money. Which I'd also like to point out is my clientele is, the highest and best clientele out there willing to spend the most amount of money on your island.
No, absolutely.
So,
No, absolutely. Like I said, I'm fine with the 500. I'm entertaining the two days idea, but I mean, you got to work with me on the number of times here,
okay.
because we can't have that many tourists coming in and out that often, especially for the ecosystem. And I mean, it's tropical island right now, but if we do that 500 people for 2 days, 11 times, we're going to turn it into desert island really quick, and nobody wants to go there.
I'll come down on the amount of times we visit. How about we say 700 people a day, 9 times a year, 2 days.
Okay. I mean, I was set on the 500. I was set on the 200, or the 2 days. Sorry, but the amount of times is got to come way down because it's
because right now the 500 people just won't work for me. It wouldn't make it worthwhile for me to take all these people out there and just drop off 500 for a day. That's only 1,000 people. I'm carrying 2,200 passengers. So how am I going to tell those passengers, hey, we have a cutoff. Like you guys paid, but you can't come off on this island. So it's around a little bit over half that usually like to come off on the different islands. So if we can think about something where we get that number up just a little bit, I'd be willing to come down on the amount of times that we visit.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm just curious then. Why do so many people have to get off the ship? If they're spending money on my island, I mean, you're not making anything. Why don't you want to keep them on the ship? Keep more people on the ship. To spend money at your casinos or your buffets or your fine dinings.
Well, we're looking at your island to broaden our tropical island theme, and I feel as though advertising that we're going to be stopping at your island and then telling people that they can't get off there because we've exceeded capacity. That's just terrible marketing.
Right.
We can't do that to people, and I feel like the more people that we have on your island, the more they're going to be spending for you, the more advertising that you're going to have, and the more apt they are to come back to your island and spend more money.
Right, but I've kind of been harping on this that I don't need that many people to be coming onto my island, and I mean I'm fine with 500 people coming for 2 days, and you talked about them coming back to the ship and ferrying back at 8 p.m. and I'm fine with that, but I mean that the number of times has to go down for the ecosystem, and so, I guess I'm just still.
So what are you looking at for the ecosystem then? What kind of things?
Well, with the 2 week, I mean, Tropical Island is a pristine ecosystem, and it was called, I forget the nickname, but it was called the last unexplored island or whatever whatever the nickname was.
Sure.
But I mean, if I go back to my council and say that 700 people are going to be coming for 2 days, 7-8 times a year, they're not going to be real happy.
Now, are you worried about the ecosystem on the island, or are you worried about the ecosystem as far as your reef and barrier, the ocean, both?
Both. Okay. I mean, I'm looking at them both as a combined effort because part of the charm and appeal of Tropical Island is also the snorkeling, scuba diving, fishing, and a lot of those 7,000 people are, farmers and fishermen, and these 700 people are coming on, and the cruise ship is parked out there seven times a year for 2 days, 7 times a year, and it's going to really disrupt our fishing and agriculture and all those people coming across the island.
Well, I know one thing. I know in your harbor, that's like your main fishing hub, correct? It's about a 2-mile wide harbor, and after the cruise ship leaves, you guys can't be in a 2-mile radius because of the dangerous, chemicals that it's possible that my ship would leak out, which is not possible. I mean, it is possible, but we do act under the certain maritime laws that protect certain islands, such as yourself, against the harmful chemicals coming off. But, I mean, you said you're 38 miles long, 10 miles wide, that'd be 96 miles of coastline, correct?
Sure.
What if, we think about the fact that I don't dock in the harbor, but I dock offshore in an area that maybe you don't fish as much in, you don't swim as much in, there isn't as much activity going on, and we have some sort of a visitor center set up there to where, it's shuttled from there into the main city. That way, it makes sure that the tourists stay in their designated area until they take a shuttle into town, which will bring them back and put them on the ship by 8 o'clock p.m.
Okay, so, that was already the case, though, as we talked about ferrying it. There's not a harbor big enough to be supporting a cruise ship. They're going to be ferried.
Well, I believe your harbor,
anyway.
right? I believe your harbor can sustain the cruise ship, though. That would be a docking position for the cruise ship.
Not actually on the island. They would need to be ferried anyway.
Right. They need to be ferried from the harbor into the.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now. Okay.
But I'm saying instead of docking in the harbor and being ferried from the harbor onto shore, I'm saying anchor offshore,
Sure, okay.
and then be ferried from offshore onto the shore where there's a small visitor center set up for my tourists.
Okay, so to not interfere with the...
Right, I feel as though by doing that it would interfere with, your fishing, your swimming. There wouldn't be any chance of any harmful chemicals going anywhere close to what you guys need to get done. I feel as though by doing that it would allow us to be able to come there a little bit more often, considering it's not going to be harming your major fishing hub. And considering, the reason for docking in the harbor would be to, protect our ship against some crucial storms, winds, etc. But in the case of that, I feel as though we wouldn't even be docking or coming to the island if there's some large tropical storm. I mean, what would be the reason for that? I don't want tourists, getting hurt or whatever. And
right.
So, we wouldn't even stop if there was a tropical storm. So, anchoring offshore and just ferrying from there, I feel would be a lot more beneficial for both of us, or a lot more beneficial for you. I'm pretty much doing that, to save your ecosystem and your reef.
Right.
So.
And earlier you had mentioned something about an incentive for training local youth or something for the youth fund of furthering their education on the island.
Right, some kind of a youth fund, maybe some sort of erection of some building, some classrooms or something. I feel as though that would keep a lot more people on the island. So I feel like because of that, we could, have the amount of tourists go up to around that 700 range.
No, I understand. Is there any incentive or cleanup initiative for these harmful chemicals? We're talking about either the harbor anchoring here or over here. Is there any incentives or plans of any cleanup or any damage to fishing in the area? Is there any?
Well, I feel as though if we anchored offshore the amount, we could even anchor off at 2 miles or whatever the reef is. Take a little bit longer to ferry in and off, but I feel as though that maybe protect you a little bit more from your reef. But as far as cleanup, maybe I know you talked about how the tourists maybe didn't respect the island as much, or maybe throw the garbage or whatever. That could be something with the visitor center, maybe that we could have jobs for your native people to maybe get paid to clean up the certain areas that my tourists could possibly damage.
Okay. And just to get back on track too, what are you sitting at right now? I'm okay with the 500. It was 500 people for 2 days when they come back to the boat at 8 p.m.
But I'm definitely thinking I'm going to definitely need a little bit more than that 500. Though.
Well, I'm just recapping a couple. There's a couple of things that were floating around there. 500 people, and that'd be 11 times a year, right? And then you wanted 700 for the 2 day
for 9 times.
For 9 times a year. Okay. I absolutely can't go above 500 at all.
Can't go above 500.
No. I just don't think we have the capacity, and even with growing, we can look at maybe an idea of going above 500 as the years progress, if that's something you're interested in, as more and more people are brought to the island each year, because from the research, this is supposed to be a 6-year contract. Is that right?
Yeah. If we make any sort of a deal, it's going to be some sort of a 6-year contract.
Okay. Just as our capacity expands, and this stuff takes time of expanding these restrooms and local facilities, and as the economy, because right now, today, I don't think we can do over 500 with the capacity of the island and the market and everything. But as 500 people are coming in and spending money, that can grow as the market grows. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I understand.
Is that something you're interested in?
So you're saying to make more of a, I don't know if we can make a contingent deal though, based upon those facts. I feel as though it would need to be some sort of a set in stone deal. So I said 700, 2 days, 9 times a year. If I came down a little bit on that 700, would you be willing to let me go up on the number of times I drop by?
Yeah, I suppose that would be acceptable, yeah.
Okay. With that being said, would you be willing to maybe go down by 50 people a day?
What do you mean go down by 50 people?
As far as, let's 650 people on the island.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have misheard you then. I thought you were talking about stick with that 700, but the number of times went down.
Oh,
I thought that was...
Sure, would you be open to that if the more times that we visit go down, but we keep that 700 the same?
No, like I said, this is a balancing act, and I'm trying to work with you, and we both want to get these people
I just know I heard you say that would be...
I misheard you. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I mean, the fact is, I would kind of like to stay around that 700 people. I feel as though that'd be the most ideal, the most beneficial, the most economical for the both of us.
Sure.
So I feel as though the 700, 2 days, I mean, would you willing to come down a whole nother stop maybe, a whole nother 2 days out of the year? Maybe just stick around that 8?
Okay, 700 for 2 days.
700 would be, so 700 people each day would be able to go on.
Okay, I'm interested in that.
Okay.
At 8 times per year, can we come down to 600 people? Just with the amount of times that we're stopping there. I'm just trying to get a little closer.
Sure.
I'm fine with the number of stops being what they are, but I just want to come down just a little more on the number of people that are coming through the island that many times.
I just really feel as though I can't really come down on the amount of people. I gotta,
so 7. Okay.
I really gotta make sure that I at least have a little bit over that 50, like that little bit over, just to make sure that at least a little bit more than 50% of the cruise ship people can get on the island. I really gotta make sure that it's something that we take pride in with our company. I gotta make sure that whoever wants to go will be able to do it.
And I'm fine with that. I understand that this is going to be a big advertising thing, that this Tropical Island is open, so I imagine enrollments are going to go significantly up.
Right.
So I understand where you're coming from with that 600 or 700.
Right. And considering this would be more of an exclusive deal where I'd be the only cruise ship liner coming on, I mean, it wouldn't be a thing where other cruise ships would be able to come on as well. Maybe mess things up for whatever reason. But
right. Okay. 700 for 2 days, and then you said 8 times per year.
8 times a year.
I mean, we started at 500 for 2 days, at 11 times per year, and I mean, we jumped up to 700 people, which I'm okay with, in 2 days. Granted that they're, coming off and going back to your ship. Can we do 700 7 times a year?
I mean, would it be a thing where, we could keep the 700 2 days, 8 times, but, set up a little bit more of an establishment for the visitors, maybe?
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about what that would look like.
Okay.
We talked hypothetically about a lot of different things.
Right.
In a visitor center.
Sure. So here's what I'm thinking. If you do allow me to do the 700 2 days, 8 times a year, I know it said that the harbor would be the closest main hub to your to the town or to all the different activities. So if you did allow me to do that, we could look at some sort of maybe a visitor center with the tourists' own private bathrooms.
Okay.
As well as maybe a shuttle service that would get them into your town.
To town.
I mean, we can't have, this visitor center on the other side of the island, of course, but, it'd have to be in some sort of a decent area of the town. But I feel as though with this sort of situation, it would keep people out of the area, out of your, natural habitats, making things a little bit more easier on your island.
Okay, and who pays for this visitor center?
I feel as though that'd be something that maybe my company would be able to pick up. I feel as though if we pick up this visitor center, maybe do this visitor center and make the bathrooms, get like a shuttle bus or some sort of situation.
Okay.
We could do that as well as some sort of a donation, maybe towards like a youth fund or something we can call it.
Let's talk about that youth fund. What does that look like?
I don't know if we could provide some sort of books, maybe provide a certain amount of computers. I don't really have a certain budget to work with because this hasn't been something that I've talked over with my committee, of course, either. But I feel as though some sort of a computer fund, reading book fund, maybe as far as maybe buying some sort of property.
You said you don't have a budget for this youth center or whatever
No,
you want to call
I
it.
don't.
But what about this visitor center then? Do you have a fund for that, or is that something you're going to have to go back and find out if you can do?
I mean, it'll be something that I'll have to go back and talk about. I know for sure that, my committee will be able to set some sort of, visitor center up. I don't know how big, but I know for sure it could house the certain tourists as well as
handle
them
coming through.
Exactly.
Okay. What if just because this youth program is something we're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
what if that was something incorporated into the visitor center of some?
Okay, let's talk about that.
I mean, the visitor center can handle these tourists, but these tourists are coming 8 times a year.
Sure.
So that visitor center is being used 8 times a year. What if that youth center or those classrooms and whatnot? I mean, they can be used on those times. I mean, 16 days a year,
Mm-hmm.
where those people are coming through the rest of the days of the year. That can be doubled as sort of a.
So it would be, I mean, considering if I, make the building, it would be sort of my company's property, of course, though.
Right.
But, I mean, if we were talking about this youth center, that's something that your island would want to set up. I feel as though we'd allow you guys to use our visitor center if it's something that you guys are really serious about letting the youth use, of course.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That'd be some. I mean, I feel like that could be a real easy way to go back to your, company, your CEOs and your board of directors, and say we have this visitor center that's ours.
Mm-hmm.
When we need it, and then these youth can go and maybe there's a library or some books
Right.
or something they can learn from. And
Sure.
this is something I could definitely take back to my council because there's 3 of them that are pretty upset that their children are looking at going to college and leaving, and I can sell them on this youth center with this visitor center with a youth library or whatever that
Right.
they can learn and
Maybe put a few classrooms or something.
Sure,
that we can
yeah.
do. Okay. But, that is definitely something I'd be interested to do. Like I said, if we were thinking about doing a youth center, again, we can't have it too far from your local hub, local community. So maybe a couple mile radius at least.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
I'm fine with that.
so yeah, I'm thinking about that, doing the visitor center, maybe do half visitor center when it's not being in use by my company. The youth or the people that want to learn for technical reasons can go there and do that. But in return, we can do the 700 2 days, or 700 for each day, 8 times a year.
Okay. I'm fine with that, but I guess I wasn't aware that it was 700 each day.
Yeah, 700 each day.
Okay.
I kind of,
No, that's fine. I was just
because I know I was talking about how we had I wanted at least half of my 222 people to be able to experience the island, so I kind of was leading towards that the 700 days, so we'd get just a little bit over half.
Sure.
Right.
No, that's fine. That doesn't change a whole lot. If it's 700 each day, then could be a total of 1,400 people
Yeah.
experiencing this, but
There'd only be 700 of my people
each day. Okay, yeah, no, that doesn't change a whole lot. That's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, if this visitor center is something we can do, 700 2-day excursion for 8 times a year, that's something I'm okay with.
Okay.
I can do that.
Sounds good. And then as well as the visitor center on my end, I'd be able to do that as well and have my boat anchored, the correct distance amount away from the visitor center.
Sure.
So as far as making the deal, Is this something where you would go back and then talk to your council, and then we could write up the contract after that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. I guess there's no other things we need to talk about other than the exclusive rights of the Island Queen to be able to stop at the island, and no other cruise lines being there, of course.
Absolutely.
But other than that, I feel as though I don't have anything else to add to the situation.
Perfect.
Sounds good?
Yep.
Very good deal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.